Hello, Internet. It's the Silverline Show on Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim TK, and I am joined, as most time, by Jose Fuentes.
That's right.
And tonight we're talking about the title is maybe a bit vague, but the modern hero pop culture. So we're talking about the zeitgeist of American media, cinema, and how all that kind of got influenced by comics. What we think comics will do to the future, and where we think the zeitgeist is going with all that. And I feel like Jose is a great co-host for this, in that. Hello,
Because I'm
Ryan.
old, isn't it? Because I'm old.
Yes. Because like me, Jose has been into every form of media. So we have seen the change from people thinking those who play D&D and Vampire were creeps and nerds to now it being one of the most viewed things on the internet.
That's true.
Yes. So
it's like I was that nerd. I was that geek.
Yes, I used to get beat up at elementary school, and then
that would have never happened to me.
Then I was forced to take Shotokan karate, and then from there transitioned into kickboxing.
So. When I first was in elementary school, like say kindergarten and I think first grade and whatnot, I went to, and if anybody knows South Bend, Indiana, it's a very ethnically cultured town, right? Mm. But everybody I ever met up to that point was all family. So when I went to kindergarten, elementary school, it was with family. And if anybody even considered like picking on me, all of a sudden there were like 5-6 other Hispanic kids that came around, and I had no clue who half of them were, but they were protecting me regardless.
Oh yeah. That's the way it goes. Is depending on where you are, you almost kind of get forced into weird pseudo gangs.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
very true.
We had all the Irish kids in our town.
When I moved from there, my mom moved us to the town I ended up growing up in. I was one of 5 Hispanic kids in the entire town.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a cultural change in regards to like the things that I was accustomed to at that time to what I had to grow to become accustomed to at that point.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Question from Ryan, or I guess statement. Depending on where you are in life, we're going through hard times. Comics can impact you or society in different ways. I definitely agree. You can get into personal stories in a bit here, but you can kind of use this to jump straight into it. And that I do think that the 2008 housing bubble being lined up with Iron Man 1 did a lot for the comics industry like the comics film industry blowing up, which in turn started funneling money back into comics. So, I mean, and comics also were created, almost as a reaction to the politics of the 1930s.
You're talking about when man.
Yeah,
you're going back, Tim.
Fellas, Jose, ready for Nicole?
She's only gonna be a little feisty, from what I understand, compared to Ian.
Yeah, that's the thing about this about Florida is like, people hear about the one big hurricane every year, but they don't hear about the 5 smaller ones you get.
Right. Well,
Superman's impacted me because Smallville got me through a difficult time in my life. That's why I'm a big Superman fan today. Yeah, and I think there's definitely comics get introduced to you either in your formative years or when you need a form of escapist media.
Right.
Either individually or as a society, that ends up developing a strong bond to you and viewers at large.
Well, one of the things I explained to people, well, I already lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Was for comics was that, like me growing up, I dealt with a lot of like, you know what I mean? I don't know, anger, hate, just a bit of prejudice from everyone. So reading comics helped to like give me an escape.
Yeah.
Comics is an escape from reality. I personally don't feel that comics should mimic reality in some regards. Like in some,
Right.
it should. There should be some things to be addressed, and I get
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it should definitely stay fantasy, and definitely should stay a medium that like allows us to like I said, escape from what we're doing.
Yeah,
And
you can fit metaphor into the fantasy without it
right.
being the entire story. Yeah. It,
Although Muhammad Ali fighting with
uh,
Superman,
so good. Or Charles Barkley playing basketball against Godzilla in the
that's
Dark Horse comics. Yes. It's the epitome of art.
wow.
Yeah. Did you not to get too far from? Did you see the DC Comics Hispanic Heritage Month covers?
Do I talk about that now, or should
Or
I?
I know, it's like,
Okay, listen.
things that should be
I
addressed. Like,
think it's great that DC Comics took the time to recognize Hispanic Heritage Month. What I don't think they should have done was the first cover they brought out was Kyle Rayner holding a bag of tamales.
yeah,
I don't think that was the way to go.
no.
Like I'm a pretty light person when it comes to like, just enjoying a joke and whatnot. Like I'll take it. Like I don't care. But even I was a little like,
Yeah.
DC, what were you thinking?
Like, you can't have room in metaphor to like address issues through metaphor, but maybe don't create a new issue with your cover.
In fact, I was just talking about that cover this week with my daughter, my 15-year-old. I was explaining it to her because we were talking about Hispanic Heritage Month. She was just like, "Wow, Dad, that was pretty cringe." I was like, "Yeah, it kind of was."
Yeah. What if we reduce this historic and long-lasting culture to two food items?
Then they went back and brought it back out with him holding the lantern.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, they did have the Mexican flag behind them. That was kind of cool.
If this had the Mexican flag and the lantern, that'd been great.
Right?
Yeah. They had hot girls serving in like a plantain restaurant. Oh God, it was. I never just seen the loose bag of tamales, to be honest.
In my house, there's no such thing as a loose bag of tamales.
There's like there's a 15-minute stretch where, depending on where you live, if you're in a city, or you can see loose bag of tamales, which is right from the store to the into the house. If you live in a place like a corner store, but other than that, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember my mom, because we're part Native American,
Mm-hmm.
my mom was doing what I called Indian Con, but it was called Trail of Courage in Rochester, Indiana, and it's just where a bunch of like Native American people will come and like peddle their wares in like a very like a very like old style, like old Western style of like primitive market, right? It was really neat and really cool. You could axe throw, all kinds of cool stuff. And my mom decided she wanted to vend at one of those things, and she spent like an exorbitant amount of time just making just 2 freezers full of tamales, and we could not touch them until Indian Con at all.
The suffering.
I was like, man, Mom, they're right there. Yes. You won't miss 2 or 9. But
yeah. But guess we could also hit on. Yes, the Green Lantern cover was especially bad, but so is the Green Lantern movie. To bring it back to pop culture being influenced by the modern context of superheroes, and much like we're getting a resurgence of Green Lantern memes via the cover. When comic books or comic movies do something, atrociously bad, everyone remembers that for the longest time.
True, that's true.
I feel
mean, even so much where the actors made fun of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely Ryan Reynolds doing that. But I definitely, there are some. We can kind of get into like they forgot the name of the theory. but the idea is that one bad thing will stick with you, but 10 good things won't.
They have a name for that?
There's like a whole effect name for that, but yeah, like the idea. But I feel like with some comic fans, they'll remember their least favorite run or writer artist on a run on a comic than they will like their the better moments for longer. And I feel like
that's fair. I could probably see that.
Yeah. There are other movies that came out around that time, but because the Green Lantern movie did Green Lantern so bad, that's all I remember, I think, from that time frame of movie releases.
I thought it had some pretty good potential in certain aspects. Like I like the dude that played Sinestro. He was cool.
Yeah.
And
but yeah.
That might be about it.
That's about it. Guy who plays Captain Barbosa was in it for like
Jeffrey
15
Rush?
minutes. Yeah.
Who was he?
Let's see. We have technology.
Oh, I like the dude that played Hector Hammond too. Like he normally plays kind of like that wimpy side character or wimpy like best friend and whatnot, but he was actually pretty cool.
Oh, he is Tomar Ree. He was
Tomar. Okay.
Yeah.
Tomar Ray is like a fish. Like
he was the fish. He was in there for like 15 minutes.
I always thought he was a bird.
Right.
Like even in the comics, I thought he was a bird. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't know that. Just because he had a beak. But I guess I should have realized that because it wasn't parrotfish had beaks.
Yeah. I feel like depending on how much detail you put into a comic, trying to get the difference between avian and aquatic species can be difficult if you're
right. But so when you look at that, or you look at the was it 1970s Captain America movie?
Oh right? Yeah,
like where Red Skull wasn't really Red Skull, it was a dude with red face paint and a bit of prosthetics on his cheeks. No, he's not. He's actual fish. He's supposed to be a fish. His planet is aquatic.
Yeah.
And so like that Superman, like anybody who's watched that is like, oh, that's cringe. Or the Fantastic Four, like the first Fantastic Four movie, and you're just like, oh my gosh, please no. And like that, I feel fed into the fact that comic book people are a joke, right? Comic book not so much creators, but like those that read comics are a joke. Like you don't take them seriously because, oh my gosh, they like this crap. But then really I feel like you said, it was like what Iron Man came out and whatnot, and all of a sudden, like, Jon Favreau was like, oh, we're gonna put a big budget to this and everything, like, and then all of a sudden, like, it was sold and people were like reading comics. They were asking about Iron Man. Like even my brother, who isn't a comic book collector at all, was like, dude, is this accurate in the movie? Like what this happened here, is that what really happened? And I'd have to explain stuff to him. So I mean, think about that and think about how many people like have shirts now. Yeah, exactly. Wow. Wow. You can't unsee that, Tim. I just want to put that out there. You can't unsee that. But yeah, so I know I love B movies too.
There's a thing where like you almost, if you like B movies, you almost do hold on to like the bad ones even more.
Right.
Like I will stand by Shaq Steel until the end of time. That was the start of the DCEU.
Man, I can't even be mad at that one, man. Shaq's whole thing was I had fun making it.
Yeah.
So like you can't even be upset about that.
Shaq went from that to being a DJ. He's
right.
that was the point in life where like, oh, Shaq's just done being like an actual like celebrity. He's just doing his own thing now.
Shaq is funny, dude. Like everything I've seen him in where he's like had interviews or whatever, he just doesn't even take himself serious at all anymore. And that's cool.
Yeah. And Captain America, there's his translucent shield. Oh, who opposed his... Oh, his see-through shield will yield. Yes. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's like not to get into like the nitty gritty of meta analysis, but also when you think of like at the different times where like comics try to take a chance to stick with the public zeitgeist, right? Because we had comics stuck with their audience, and kind of blew up with hero comics in 1930s and 40s when, in response to everything going over there, they created Captain America and they gave Superman a bit more fluff.
Right.
And then that went on until the 50s, and then that kind of toned down, and we ended up getting like the weird resurgence in romance comics.
Yeah, I don't understand that one, but
Yeah.
evidently the boss has some.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think it was kind of a time where everyone just wanted the the Fallout future. Everyone is like, you feel like you have everything at home, but you don't quite have. But you so what's the thing you don't have is, well, the perfect romantic partner. So that's what you create in comics. But and then superhero comics ended up picking back up again, 60s, 70s, Korea, Vietnam, big time in the 80s with the war on drugs, making things at home feel real angsty.
Right.
But another time you end up getting these weird, almost, I feel like, tone deaf approaches to try and make comics stick with the pop culture. Well, you had Lou Ferrigno's Hulk, which was good, but I think at the time it tried to take the green out of the purple pants a bit too much at times. So
Right.
yeah, the sheer gaudiness of it, it couldn't really stick, but it was still good.
I did find it interesting that they changed his name to David Banner instead of Bruce
Yes.
Banner because David sounded more manly.
Yes, which is weird.
I
I
thought
also
so
found
too.
that Bruce is actually his middle name. They had like a weird like Silverline or something, not Silverline, Silver Age continuity error where he was called Bob at the start, and they start
Wow.
calling Bruce, and they're like, Bruce is his middle name. His actual name is Robert Bruce Banner. But you end up getting like the weird like Captain America movie and stuff like that, where the 1970s, middle Vietnam, and Watergate and all that. What's the one thing people don't want to hear more about?
Right.
American exceptionalism. But you get to 2008 with Iron Man. It's Robert Downey Jr. Coming off of his rehab comeback arc that he started with the Scanner Darkly and Keanu Reeves.
Right.
I
And remember that movie.
Yeah. He sadly forgot his name, called him Bob, and then they had to go back and retcon it at some point. But yeah, Stanley just straight forgot his name in a couple issues, so his name is different. Yeah. And this is before the time of the Marvel Bible Keeper, so
right.
Yeah, and then have someone come bursting down the door, like, no, we need to change this before it goes to print. And maybe in this movie where it is like almost purely escapism, but the little bit of metaphor that they slide in there is big corporate man realizes that big corporate life is bad, becomes hero. Right at the end of the 2008 housing crisis, right? So,
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't actually tie that together. That's interesting.
So, like, subconsciously, you're like, oh, I like this metaphor. This brings me comfort in this weird time where I don't know what's happening with my 401k.
Right.
But also, it's just
and the rich guy's not happy about it either.
Exactly. But it's just this fun escapist movie that solves the issue that I feel like why the Hulk series couldn't make it stick long term, is that you actually have the effects and the money to make everything look good.
Right. Right. I think had they waited to do Green Lantern, it would have been significantly better.
If they waited on it a little bit, and if they gave it, just a couple more passes on the script.
Right. Well, yeah.
Just tidy that up a little bit.
And pick somebody else for Hal Jordan. I'm sorry.
I
like Ryan Reynolds, but no. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. I would have been mad if they'd gone and if they decided to instead start with someone like a I forgot his name. Who's the Marine one?
That's John Stewart.
John Stewart. If it start with a John Stewart or a Kyle Rayner. If they instead decided to adapt one of those.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be cool for like us that like have read those books and like have progressed with them to the other lanterns. That
I feel
would
like,
make sense, but like when you want to bring in a new character, you want to bring in the classic.
I guess, yeah, but it's just that I feel like out of all of them, for like what they're starting fluff, I feel like Hal has like kind of the least interesting starting point going into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he kind of does. I mean, there was more that you could have done if it was John Stewart. You know, you could have instantly brought in like love interest with, was it Katma too? And just, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, not going to spend the whole night on Green Lantern. Sorry.
Actually, what if we just tried to fix Green Lantern right now?
Green Lantern.
Hear me out. I have an idea.
Okay.
Actually, reboot it. You do Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner at the same time. Make it a buddy cop. Just two new guys on the job. It's like the other guys, but Green Lantern.
So I would love to tweak that up, and instead of being Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner, make it Kyle Rayner and Nort.
Yes.
The dog guy.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
It's Kyle Rayner and Nort as the new guys, and you already have Hal Jordan and John Stewart
Just
established as the vets. So they're the ones who are looking down at these guys like, what the crap are they doing?
Yes. This needs to happen.
Yes.
Like I keep talking to my friend Nick. My friend Nick is a writer. He does his own stuff, and he's like Joe, when you make it big and DC picks you up, you make sure you let me know so we can write a Green Lantern book together.
Oh yeah.
No joke. It's like we're gonna make this happen one way or another. Like DC, you guys need to hear us out.
That's
That would change my culture. I'm just saying.
Exactly. Yeah. So as far as now comic books becoming tendentially mainstream thanks to the MCU becoming the biggest grossing film thing to ever film. As someone who's been into comics before that, how does it feel weird? How weird does it feel living in this timeline? And what's kind of in your reaction to the comics becoming the zeitgeist? And now every time you go to Target, you have plushies of.
For me, because also I've actually always been a DC comics guy.
Yeah.
Like only just recently have I decided, like, you know what? There's a couple books. I want to get the new Fantastic Four run. They just started a new Fantastic Four, and there's another run that I wanted to pick up. But for me, was it the 90s, 80s? It was the 80s.
Yeah.
When they brought out the Batman movie with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Like that. For me, like I was like, oh my gosh, the books that I'm reading they've got a movie about it. Like this is so awesome. Like that was like, because then they brought out the comic book related to, just like they always do, comic book related to the movie. But they also put out, like, I think it was Topps put out Batman trading cards. And I was buying packs after pack of it because I wanted to collect all of them. You know what I mean? But for me to see Batman coming out as a live action movie, as opposed, and I know that there was the series back in the day.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? That was it, Batman 66 and whatnot. And,
yes.
And even before that, there was a Batman show with the black and white Superman and stuff like that. Even those, like, to me, at that time I was young for those, so those didn't really affect me. But like I was reading Batman at the time. You know what I mean? All of a sudden they're like, oh, Batman movie coming out.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who Tim Burton was. That he didn't matter to me at the time. I didn't care. It was the fact that like it showed Gotham, a gritty Gotham, and Batman, and it was over.
Yeah.
But like that, I got to wear Batman clothing and not just Batman underwear going to bed. Like it was actually t-shirts. I had so many Joker t-shirts and so many Batman t-shirts growing up. So like I might even have still like a couple of them hiding somewhere. But yeah, that for me, that was, I got to talk about Batman to people because people are like, oh yeah, the Batman movie, and have you seen that? 4 times. Yes, I have. And but yeah, like that. Normally, I would almost always wear like a button-up shirt. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
and I was Hispanic in a town that didn't have, like I said, didn't have a lot of Hispanics. I buttoned
Right.
my button shirt all the way up.
Oh yeah.
So I was that guy. And but yeah, so like I finally got to like open my shirt and like show off my Batman shirt, my Robin shirt, or not Robin, but my Joker shirts, and
Yeah.
like talk about comics to people as opposed to not like people would talk about like sports and stuff like that. And I played baseball during the summer with my cousin, but like I was never interested in any of that other than actually just playing a game with my cousin.
Right.
But so to be able to like talk about comic books, even just the one to talk about comic books and like show people, oh, this is some of the stuff that I've doodled and drawn even at my younger age, you know, it
Mhm.
was like I said, that to me, that was a big move. That was a big move to be able to transition what I talk about and show people what I love, what I enjoy, and be able to like openly talk about that with people. I didn't get to do that before because nobody was into comics. Still
Yeah.
didn't have anybody interested in Dungeons and Dragons at the time. I was still a kid
Yeah.
for that one, but
Yeah. Well, recently, yeah, we can thank Critical Role and Stranger Things for getting people back into D&D.
and Joe Manganiello
And Joe
actually,
Manganiello, yeah.
because he obviously he's been a gamer forever. I've seen his freaking
Yes.
dungeon, like pictures of his dungeon,
Oh yeah.
and he actually started a company to promote Dungeons and Dragons like apparel that he
Yeah,
helped.
Death Saves. I have a couple of
Yeah,
their
yeah,
shirts.
yeah. Man, how cool is that? Like
Right?
just like on a whim, this is what I want to do. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it for Magic Mike, and I'm gonna use my money for this.
Right. Let me find this right here. Uh, there we go. See if I can find the.
And for anybody that doesn't know, Death Save in Dungeons and Dragons is a dice roll you have to make to see whether or not you die.
Yes.
If you are unconscious below on your health and everything, and you're down on the ground bleeding out, you roll a die to see if you successfully make your roll, then you have made succeeded on your death save.
I'm trying to find the cast list here for 1 second, but
For what?
yeah, did you see Jox Machina? The
No.
his
What?
I'm trying to find the name of the kicker, but I believe it's it was done for a D&D stream. They did it 2 years in a row, but it was put together by Travis Willingham from Critical Role and Joe Manganiello,
Okay.
and they got the Big Show
No,
because
that's
he's also a
awesome.
huge nerd, and I believe he's the kicker for the Tennessee Titans.
What?
Yeah, and they just did a campaign that did on the stream was called the Stream of Many Eyes, which is what how they promote new D&D products. But yeah, it was a good show.
I did not see it. That sounds awesome.
Definitely worth watch. But I said the same way when the X movies came out. Even with as memorable as 3 was, but being the kid who read X-Men and then pretty much all I did was play Super Nintendo, read X-Men, and then read the Dragonlance books.
Nice.
Yeah. And no one in school was interested. But when the X-Men movies came out, it suddenly became like this whole thing, and now this is something we're talking about fairly regularly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the second one mostly because Nightcrawler was in it.
Yes.
Like I thought, was it Alan Cummings? I thought
Alan
Alan
Cummings.
Cummings played a great Nightcrawler.
Yeah, it was honestly really good. Like, yeah. That was like very like accurate down to the mannerisms portrayal of the character. Yeah, felt like this game's saying we're now in general, like it feels that's kind of the whole thing, right? We're now we can go around wearing comic and whatever apparel,
Right.
and instead of it being a weird turned off to strangers. Now we have people coming up to us and asking us questions about stuff because they also it helps if you're an encyclopedia like I am with X-Men or Eternal. So now whenever someone has their own theories they need to vet, I just get bombarded with messages.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, I get a lot of those every so often if there's a new show that comes up. My brother hasn't hit me up for the Sandman one yet,
Oh
but
yeah.
like when Supergirl came out, it was like, dude, is that what really happened? Like, was Martian Manhunter with Supergirl? I was like, no, dude, that's not how it started. Like, that's no. But it's cool. Martian Manhunter needed to be in there because
Yes.
he's a pretty cool character. But I was I like the fact that I know that like movies when Marvel when the X-Men came out when the Marvel universe came out MCU it came out like trying to best translate the comics into the movie, right?
Hmm.
And now like over the past few years I want to say uh I just found out something was like 10 years ago anyway um over the past few years, like 5, 6 years or so, maybe more than that. It's now I'm realizing that comics are transitioning the other way, where they're trying to match the comics with the movies
Yeah.
because so many people now have watched the movies or are watching the movies, and now it must be that they're trying to pick up the comic now. Oh, I've seen this movie. I'm interested more about these
Yeah.
characters. I want to go read the comic. The comic has nothing like the movie. Like what the heck? So now they're actually transitioning to make the comics match more with again you can with the movies you can tell like they changed like some of the clothing for like the Eternals, you know what I mean, to match
Yeah.
that. Like just some of the other characters that you have a friend.
Let me go and do that there.
And but yeah, like I think it's neat in some aspects that they're doing that they're it's like it's a shared culture, I guess. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That it's trying to blend well. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's trying to not just cater to those like you and I and whatnot who are or read comics, like comics. I personally like the way they are, old school, but they're trying to accommodate newer fans, newer readers, you know what I mean, to be interested because it's coinciding with some of the movies.
No, yeah.
Like I think
Let's
that's one of the big changes, like one of the big benefits out of it.
yeah, definitely. I think Lousy like and they also do some they and did some interesting collections of publications that I don't think we would have gotten otherwise with it because one like what I think is like one of the smartest moves they did is when Infinity War's coming out and then or first with Civil War and then with Infinity Wars they released they released new variants of the hardback collection of both storylines.
Right.
Uh, and it's kind of something like that far removed. I didn't think we would see another collection of Infinity War
Right.
come
'Cause I
out
think
down the
what
line.
Infinity War came out, I think I was in a freshman in high school. So what, 90,
Yeah,
something like that. Maybe it
yeah,
was little, no, I think it's in the 90s. I think it came out in the 90s.
yeah. I'll say it's like early '90s, yeah. And so, but they get a collected edition of that like 20 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's definitely kind of a cool reverse effect that we're seeing. Where if you're a fan of the comic, some things may be changing, but now, in order to uh, pull people who are interested in because of the movies and stuff further in, you're going to get these new collections of stuff that came like way before, or
Right.
You end up getting runs of teams that you didn't think would happen because like, oh, this team would translate well to screen, so let's make a comic about that team now and some way in the universe.
Right. Then you get like other like aspects like coming in as well. Because you had who was it? Gosh dang, I drew blank. Wasn't Michael Straczynski? Wasn't he like a novelist?
Yeah.
before he started writing for was it All Stars for Image Comics,
Yeah.
and then Gerard Way. Gerard Way was the lead singer of, well, still is the lead singer of My Chemical Romance,
Yes. Is
and
now again.
yeah, and he wrote Umbrella Academy.
Yes.
Well, I think he co-wrote it, right? He co-wrote it with
He
somebody.
co-wrote it. Yeah.
It was his book, as far as I understand, and he had somebody help him with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you get that, and just who else? No, not Jeff Johns. Jeff Loeb. Jeff Loeb wrote comics, and then he transitioned into screenwriting for and that was he screenwrote Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, I know it's old and I'm old, but but yeah, like stuff like that. And,
yeah. Well, something that's like also interesting. Before he tanked his career at UFC and then again at AEW, CM Punk wrote a Drax run.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Guardians is also really weird, like case study in all of this, because no one knew what Guardians was, even within the comic scene, before the movie came out.
Well, because the Guardians that we knew was not the Guardians on the screen.
Right.
That was an entirely different group.
It was an entirely new team. Yeah. And then the old school Guardians ended up becoming Guardians 3000.
Right.
Same timeline as Spider-Man 2099, essentially.
Yeah, and then they introduced them in the second Guardians movie at the end with like Arnold Schwarzenegger and whatnot.
Yeah, so yeah.
Oh, not Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone. Sorry.
Yeah. Other 80s muscle man.
Right.
Yes.
Muscle man number 1. Isn't he the toughest guy? He was like the most built one. I think he was. He was a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Sylvester Stallone was a bodybuilder. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, you were talking about how something comics and culture, cross culture, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's a thing where we didn't really have like this characters existed, but not in the way that they not as the team that they are in the movie. And then Guardians had gone away for some time, and then we get this Guardians movie announced, and then we get a new Guardians run started after that with the team that's in the movie.
Yeah, I think the only 2 characters that were actually part of like the original Guardians were the second part of the original Guardians were Rocket and Groot.
Yeah,
like they ended up joining. I think they joined the Guardians before the Annihilation storyline, and then that's when I think in Annihilation is when Star-Lord joined in, and what was the other one? I don't know what that was, but that was my jam.
Some background noise.
Nice. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I feel I know more about comics than I probably should ever have in my brain.
Oh yeah, well, I mean that's. I always have those weird moments where I'm like, oh god, when I was like, oh, I can fill a conversation of an hour with just like, so here's this thing that happened in like this one X-Men storyline.
Yeah, I have to ask people to pay attention when I'm telling stories because I'll deviate.
Yeah.
Like I'll start telling the story and then I'll like veer off and still part of the story, but like I've taken like that much of it and went off on a tangent and I'll stop. Why was I telling you the story again?
Mm-hmm.
You need to remember these things, please, so you can remind me.
Right. That's yeah. I had a remember where someone had asked me to explain to me why is during the Planet of X storyline or whatever, or X World, where Nathan Summers had trapped everyone within like this weird alternate reality where everyone was a mutant. So, but he looked very Jesus-esque. So someone asked me, like, why is Jesus in the X-Men? So I had to explain who Nathan Summers was. And like, would be Cable, but different timeline. Right. Was very cool, but then wasn't cool. Disappeared for a bit, was cool again. Now is bad Jesus.
Well, I thought he was cool in Age of Apocalypse. When he was first introduced in that, I thought he was awesome in Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah. Well, I had that one, like, the Speaking of changing costumes to match the movies, there was that like after the X movies came out where they put everyone in leather, and then they changed the comics to put everyone in leather.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it for some characters it worked pretty well. But him is so comical that I loved it. Where his thing was just like tight leather pants,
And the
shirtless,
jacket.
leather jacket. Yeah. Yeah.
And evidently he had the X tattooed on his chest too.
Yes.
I was like, wait, what?
Yep.
This is not the 90s again? It might be still the 90s.
But yeah, that was one of those things in terms like this is ridiculous and I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the same. Like all the pockets, like the joke about the pockets, the pouches,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I actually thought that stuff was cool back in the 90s. I thought that was great.
Right.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that makes sense. They got pockets for their armor, their ammunition and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
It's like in the 90s are like, we need to make comics edgier. We give everyone giant guns. We give
That's
them
right.
pouches full of ammo and more
And
guns.
everyone was swole up.
Yes.
Like everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the girls, even the female superheroes, they were all swole up. Yes. And I thoroughly thank and blame Mike Diodato. His run on Thor was great.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, you know, Thor he did Avengers for like the longest time where like Thor had that big long Fabio flowing hair and whatnot.
Yes.
And just man. Heck yeah.
Well, that's when Magneto became
Joseph,
yeah. It's the giant flowing hair, and he's always levitating, but constantly popping his pecs.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. I had to like double take reading that one. So like, wait, who?
Yes.
Who is this guy? Joseph? And then when he found out that he was actually Magneto, is when they also brought back Eric the Red.
Yeah.
Who back in the day used to be Magneto.
Yes.
I was like, man, people are gonna get confused.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's yeah. That's well. Also now we can talk about like what may not translate well into pop culture. My favorite thing about comics is when they just get as ridiculous as possible. Like, what if there's actually three characters? They're all one character at one point, and now they'll meet each other.
Right. They did that. That's called the newer Spider-Man movie.
Yes.
The No Way Home.
Yeah. Which that I feel like now I'm seeing that it's getting some hate now, but I liked it when it came out, so I don't know why.
The movie?
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
I thought it was great. Yeah, I don't know why now there is a newfound negative reaction to that. Is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, but
it definitely was a like a nod to fans kind of.
Yeah, I think that's the thing people may not like is that it felt a little who were not diehard Spidey fans, or it may have felt a little too like on the nose or a little too like inside baseball.
Okay, I guess I can see that.
But still, I thought it was like. I have friends who are not as deep into comics as I am, and they'll die laughing, especially when they acknowledge that most of the people watching this movie are now in their 30s and older when they talk about back issues.
I thought it was great when because I feel that not so much for Tobey Maguire, but more for was it Andrew Garfield? It kind of gave him like a closure. You know what I mean, for his character. I thought that was for his Spider-Man. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like and then it actually showed the newer guy. I can't remember. I just drew a blank. Whatever his name is. The new Spider-Man.
Oh, Tom Holland?
Yes.
Yeah.
It showed him actually getting angry.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Which I thought was pretty cool too. I don't know how I felt about Marissa Tomei being Aunt May. Only because I know that Aunt May was old and was super wrinkly.
Mm-hmm.
And if they made Marissa Tomei back in the day when I was young, you know what I mean? Everybody had a crush on Marissa Tomei. So watching her be Aunt May meant that maybe I was old.
I feel like that's a joke is that she was the hot aunt, right?
Right.
That so much so that she may have been in a relationship with Happy.
But like, you know, as an older guy, you're watching that and you're like, I know that the old Marvel trading cards always had stats for characters in the back and trivia facts, like Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. You know, talked about this. Thor had a cane, and Aunt May has made over 200 pies and has over 100 and something wrinkles on her face. You know what I mean? Like this is stuff that you know because of these things. Like looking at Marissa Tomei, I'm like, I don't see 100 and something wrinkles on her face. I don't know what to feel about this. I don't know how to feel. I'm confused.
Because then imagine you're the artist and you get that note and description like a character with 100 wrinkles on their face. Like, what? No.
Thankfully, John Ramota Jr. saved us and gave her wrinkles again. I remember when Doc Ock was courting Aunt May.
Oh yeah. I think also one of the best things about the movie was giving Alfred Molina closure as Doc Ock as well.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Alfred Molina is I love him as an actor.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was great. And I totally forgot, and someone reminded me, I totally forgot that he was in Indiana Jones, the first movie.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what? Where? Like, where was he in it? Just like, oh, he was the assistant at the beginning of the movie. Like, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think after watching, Alfred Molina, Willem Dafoe, and Oscar Isaac are three guys. I think you could just stick into a room and tell them to act, and you'd get somebody's out
gold.
Yeah, they already kind of did that with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, which is the only reason I wouldn't include him in that now because that was Lighthouse, and that was just
Lighthouse.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen that yet.
It's an experience.
It's on the top of my list actually, and I just haven't watched it. I need to go freaking find it digitally and watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like after seeing R-Bats, if people are interested in more R-Bats and stuff, that was my recommendation. Was not going back and watching like his earlier stuff, but watching the Lighthouse and A Good Time, because that's just him acting as his face off.
That's awesome.
But yeah, some things I think that will be kind of harder to translate is, comics have also not really shied away from getting very esoteric and dealing with like orders of the divine and the concepts of reality and all that. We got a little bit of that with like Multiverse of Madness, but dealing with like the god structures, translating through Eternals did not work as well.
Well,
I still think there was ways you could save it, but it was
I think I mentioned it before. Eternals would have been great. Okay, it would have been great if it was like a 4-hour-long movie.
Yeah.
But it would have been terrible if it was a 4-hour-long movie.
Yes, yeah.
But there is so much that Eternals was like that had to it that they should have brought in to explain things, because nobody knows the Eternals. Like, they're very like, I know the Eternals. I think you know the Eternals. Yes. There's a few here and there, but no one ever really picked up the book up. Not really. Not that I know of.
Yeah.
Like, it was not the highest selling book in my comic shops. You know what I mean? No. You're gonna go into the back the back issue bin, and you're gonna find like a crap ton of them.
Yeah.
Because nobody really cared. But they were so like significant to like cosmic stuff, like I said, the Celestials and whatnot. Like, they were so significant to stuff like that it made sense to bring them into the MCU, but nobody knows who they are. So nobody really cared. Like, I'm pretty sure it tanked at the box office. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because nobody knew. Everyone knows Wolverine. Everyone knows Cyclops, Storm. You know what I mean? Even those that don't read comics know who they are because they've taken the slow ride to introduce them. You introduce them in like an old cartoon where Wolverine spoke like an Australian. Then you had a newer cartoon where like they fixed that. You know what I mean? And then, so they slowly have progressed. They added the X-Men into the old Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends for like a few issues, right? So like there was a slow like river ride to get to people knowing who they are. And they had stuff that they could fall back on. Oh yeah, I remember him in Spider-Man. Oh, I remember him in this. Right. And Eternals was just like, bleh. And you're like, I don't know who this dude is. It's got some great effects going on in it, but
right. Yeah. I definitely think that if they had trimmed down the cast, maybe, which would be really weird to do with Eternals, but trim down the cast to make it more of just like get to know these 4 characters before dumping 8 people on you. But even just if they had done where like how they had introduced Black Widow and Hawkeye, where they just thrown them as characters into other movies beforehand, where
Right.
in this story or whatever, uh, you see Athena show up, and another one you see Gilgamesh pop up and punch somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Like something, even just a little. Like, was it Droog was out in the woods in the Amazon or something like that?
Yeah.
You could have easily tweaked that up to like maybe like transition him in, like, I don't know, friggin' like Black Panther or something, or just something of that nature. You know what I
Right.
mean? Just anything that just kind of slowly introduced the characters a little bit,
Right.
But like to throw you a whole lot of like characters and new complete different plot direction
Mhm.
for MCU, people were just like they were baffled. I mean, I'll be honest, like people did not understand.
Yeah. I think that's also like one of the issues that, and why I think the starting with just single name movies like Iron Man, Cap, Thor worked so well is because one of the things that the constant complaint I always get, or fear when people like want to get into comics is, well, do I need to read everything? It's because there's so much backlore
Right.
and everything. Like, well, no, just get to know this character.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of getting to new characters, we're kind of at the end here. So,
Wow.
and now we covered, kind of our relation to the zeitgeist and where we think it popped out and what we think is cool about it. But I don't know if you've been following the news of the new Black Panther. Going to see that this weekend. But we are getting Namor.
Yes.
And now in 2 different X-Men franchises, we have heard the word mutant, and we've gotten the name X-Men at least once with the and then another time we got the actual X-Men 90s cartoon Sting in the musical
Right.
track.
It's only a matter of time. Well,
Yeah. Do you think that we're actually going to confirm that Namor is the first mutant?
I really kind of hope so, because I think it would be really cool that, yeah, they had X-Men. Was it Sony or whatever? Didn't Sony have X-Men and whatnot? Like, they had X-Men. They'd own X-Men movies, but like
it was Fox, and then when Disney bought Fox,
Sony had Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
To incorporate the X-Men into the MCU, I feel like the best like I don't know, most honorable thing to do, I guess, I don't know, is to bring in Namor as the first mutant, and make him the first mutant in the MCU. I think that is just a great idea. I really hope that's the direction they're going.
Yeah. Doing that, maybe we get like a little bit of like a teaser or something that like sealed away somewhere. We just see like there's the tomb of Insabanur, but just leave it at that.
Don't. I was the only one. I was at the end of the X-Men issue, or at the end of the X-Men movie, when they had the extra clip at the end, and it was like all the Egyptians chanting Insabanur, 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 right? Everyone in the theater, it was quiet. They had no clue who that was.
Yes.
I'm the only one like, yeah, that's what you're clapping at. Like, I was going crazy. My wife said, what are you doing? I was like, that's Apocalypse.
Yes.
If they bring Apocalypse, they're going to bring the Horsemen. If they bring the Horsemen, they're bringing Archangel or Angel. If they bring Angel, they're going to bring Archangel. She's like, you really went the long way about that one. I'm like, yeah, I kind of did, but it was great. I'm excited.
Yeah. And there's also another one where you kind of left a dirty taste in my mouth. I got to see it on the screen, but I wish it was better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel really bad for Olivia Munn, who played Psylocke, because like decades before that on G4, she talked about Psylocke being her favorite comic character, and like she had gone through like extra time doing sword training before that movie, and then was in it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, she was in it for like a second, like in comparison. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucked. Yeah. I heard she was super stoked about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know that other people were stoked about it. I actually didn't know who she was. I had to look her up.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, I'll be interested to see if we do. We are also getting Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in the new Deadpool, which is officially going to be part of the MCU.
That is another.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another like bridge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To bring the mutants in, I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome. I hope so. I hope they don't worry. I hope it's it's not going to be the classic ones. You know what I mean? You're not
Mhm.
going to get like obviously Patrick Stewart and whatnot,
Right.
but and that was a tease in Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
Jerk faces. I
Yeah.
was so excited to see Professor X, and then crap.
Yeah.
I was so
I,
mad. I was like,
uh,
no. But yeah, that's. I mean, if you bring in Wolverine, then you have to bring the others in.
oh yeah. Yeah.
So, and like I said, it's not going to be the old ones, but I think it's going to probably be like the James McAvoy
James
one,
McAvoy. Probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I hope because I like the dude that played Beast, like
Yes.
that kid that played in Warm Bodies.
Yeah. He was good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was cool. I like to see him make an appearance in the MCU.
Yeah. He also makes a really good Beast, which I don't know if you've read any of the current X-Force comics or anything like that, but
Nope.
Beast has gone full ends justify the means X-Force. Like it's like his idea is that like my job is to ensure mean survival, and in order to do that, I need to send the strike team into this human city.
Dude, he was so against freaking Cyclops going that path.
He was, and
When Cyclops went all extreme, I must be the mutant Punisher.
yeah, and that it's really interesting because they do like the whole like it wasn't just like a sudden thing. It was you watched Beast deteriorate into losing all hope for peaceful coexistence. Essentially,
Dang.
it was really dark. But then you had Cyclops be his counterpoint at that, where now Cyclops is just like focusing on his family, and
Right.
yeah. So a character is going to change in 5 years because that's the nature of modern comics.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I can't read X-Men. Like, I'm sorry, Marvel, but X-Men is crazy now.
Yes, it is. I do like I like the insanity of it. Will it ever work successfully as a movie? Probably not.
No.
As much as I want to have a comedic good guy Black Tom Cassidy just talking to talking to an island, I don't want that. So remember, Black Tom Cassidy used to be like super terrifying. Like, yeah, man, he controls nature. And then in the new run, he's like, "Hey, man, listen to the veg. It talks to you."
Right. I thought when they went to like their main base on Krakoa, and Krakoa was opening those tree portals everywhere for them to travel back and forth. And then, not to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read it yet, but if you haven't, you're late. But they started doing the pods.
Yeah.
So essentially, any mutant or whatever that has died can be brought back to life. I was like,
Yes.
awesome. We've essentially added spawn points.
Yes.
In X-Men.
Yes.
I was like, wow, in Marvel Comics, thanks.
Yes.
And they spawned Jamie Braddock.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, not
Oh
that
yeah.
guy.
That's funny because actually I have his because that was when X-Men was still under code but got AO authority. So I have the alternate cover with the AO sticker when Jamie Braddock introduced.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man.
Because that was he's a straight up flayed dude. But yeah. But oh my god. Well, he was King of Avalon, which is super funny.
Right.
But I don't know if did you read any of X's Swords, the other big event that came after House of X?
Yeah.
Okay. Because
I know he got Betsy to take someone out and so that he can become the king.
Yes, yeah. Betsy became Captain Britain and got resurrected like several times.
And then didn't Brian become the new Lionheart?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's interesting because they end up establishing they do what we kind of mentioned this last week, just talking about like just giving people new powers. So you need to put some sort of rules on it, otherwise it's too ridiculous.
Right.
They put the rules on the respawning. It has to happen on Earth or within like the near solar system. Because people die over in Elseworld.
Right.
The thing that's not beyond the cross plane of planes. Anyway. And they try to resurrect him, but because his soul got trapped on another plane, his body got brought over here, and it was just you just created like a weird homunculus, and it was super like, oh, this is very dark.
Yeah, like I said, I read some of the was it Swords of X Swords?
Yeah.
something. I don't know. I read a little bit of it. I started reading it, and I like was Shugi.
Mhm.
I like Jubilee's son.
Yes.
I thought
Yes.
that was great when they transfer. Was it they traveled to, like, was it Avalon or wherever Morgan Le Fay was,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Where'd the baby go?" All of a sudden, he's this dragon.
Yes. God, yeah, that was so good. Just
I was like,
also, I like how they mentioned like just how wackadoo Jubilee is as a character.
right.
So,
I actually like early 2000s during crap, what was it called? It was the storyline where Celine had come in and whatnot, and then all of a sudden everyone was turning into vampires,
yes.
right? So Jubilee got turned into a vampire, and then she stayed as a vampire. Like
Hmm.
she actually, like Wolverine went, like, so in that storyline, Jubilee was taken and got turned into a vampire, and then Wolverine was like, nope, not on my watch. And
Hmm.
he went into the what was it, the sewers and the caves where the vampires were like all nesting and hiding, and just
Yep.
started taking everyone out while he was looking for Jubilee. And when he found her, he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You like they've affected your mind with this. Like, no, I'm of my own mind. I know what I'm doing. Like,
Hmm.
you need to leave. And so like they actually carried that over for like the longest time of her still remaining. I don't know if she's still a vampire now, but she was for like, I
Yeah.
mean, man, for quite a few years like after.
Yeah.
And then she kind of took like a low key when she got I think his name is Shugi, I can't remember. But
Hmm.
when she got her son, like she basically adopted him.
Right.
So I thought
Yeah.
that was cool.
Definitely. Yeah. Speaking of vampires, I don't think the MCU has any hope of. Speaking of things that did not translate well, as a chance of resurrecting Morbius, even though Sony says they're making a sequel.
I
Uh,
don't want to knock it because Morbius is honestly one of my favorite Spider-Man characters.
well, it's a good
Like,
character. That's why the movie hurt so
so I was
much.
like, yeah, I was like, man, it's gonna be so awesome. Finally, they're gonna like, man, I was even excited that Jared Leto was gonna play freaking Morbius. I'm like, yes, yes. And then I watched it. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no.
But I do think they actually have a chance of making perhaps a Dracula cool in the MCU, depending on who directs it.
Right, that would be
So,
neat.
so I'm thinking maybe with the Black Blade and Blade movie, Black Knight and Blade.
Yeah, Black
Uh,
Knight.
yeah, since that is maybe we
That is gonna be the next buddy cop
yes,
book.
yeah,
Blade and the Black Knight.
yeah. I'm thinking maybe you might get a cool Dracula in that.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to see um more of things like Werewolf by Night.
Yes, that was so good.
Oh my god! Like I'm a huge fan of the old black and white Universal
Yeah.
movies, like so much when I was younger that they came out with these. Okay, so they came out with these orange and black books. They were like not that big, maybe less than 20 pages, right, each. But
Hmm.
they basically told the story of the movie, right? So
Yeah.
like it was Bride of Frankenstein, it told everything that happened, like hit all the highlights. And Dracula, Frankenstein, freaking the Ant, movie. There's a praying mantis one, like a Creature from the Black Lagoon, just all kinds of them. I read they were purple and black. There were two different like brands or two different years or whatever they
Nice.
came out. I read through all of them. I loved
Nice.
them. Before I ever saw the movies, I read through them, and then I found out as I got older that on Sunday afternoon, whatever channel was in my hometown or my dad's hometown played a horror movie, like classic. I think it was like Svengoolie. I think it might have been on Svengoolie
Huh.
on Sunday,
All right.
and he would play like the old movies and stuff like that. So like I loved it. So to be able to watch Werewolf by Night,
Yeah.
because if anybody hasn't seen it yet, you need to go watch it. It's in black and white.
Hmm.
Like that doesn't spoil anything. It's in black and white,
Yeah.
and that only made it that much more amazing for me.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, I think it's also an interesting case of translating comics to what has become the dominant force in the zeitgeist, but by doing it, stealing some like the old pop culture,
yeah,
just the old Universal monsters, and like for a while that was like the big franchise was the Universal Monsters, the one black and white film. So
Yeah.
to take that and like, well, now it's you're renewing that identity almost.
Right.
Yeah.
They're I mean, it was more than just paying like homage to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, like I said, bringing it back. Like I
Yeah.
really hope I really hope so. Like I have high hopes and prayers that they make another one like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely like recognized, again, not a spoiler, but at the end of the movie, or at the end of the special presentation, it transitioned back to me in color again, right?
Yeah.
As the sun came up.
Yeah.
So like at night, it was all black and white, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get that at first, right? Until like I saw I was like, oh wait, okay, I get why they did that. And as it became daylight, color returned back to like the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to see more like that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I really like, please, Disney Plus, if you love us, please bring us more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's Logan is already kind of a superhero western, but there's a couple other characters you could do that with, and I'm hoping at some point we do get like a panel box shootout where it just like
Yes.
just cut the box down. Yeah.
Man, right? Like the old was it what was it? Once Upon a Time in the West?
Yeah.
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 Just get that whistle.
Mm-hmm.
Bring back that whistle. That'd be just
Yes.
that. Add that to him. I mean, but we kind of got, I mean, not so much the whistle, but like we definitely got like the space western with Mandalorian. We got it in the was it late '90s with Firefly and Serenity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's time for a new one. Let's make this happen.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, it has been about time. So we've been that Silverline Show on Tuesday. I've been your host, Tim TK, and I've been joined by Jose Fuentes. Anything going on? Anything you need to shout out or otherwise promote?
We have the the new fall Kickstarter for Silverline. Like that's awesome. 5 books. It's like, holy cow. That one's huge.
I don't know which page you posted it on. Let's see. Silverline's on Roland. Okay. I can't find it to share the screen, but we'll have it up next week, I believe. Yeah, so we got that going on. So check out silverlinecomics.com.
I had to not take a break, but like step away from doing inks for just a little bit to handle like house stuff at post hurricane stuff. But now I'm back to grinding pages for Obsoletes 2, and that's all I could think of the top of my head.
All right, sounds good to me. I got nothing new at the moment. Still grinding at work.
Grinding at work is good.
Yes, but hopefully we'll have more news on either some World War II spy stories or some Roman space operas soon.
That's going to be awesome.
All right.
Heck yeah.
We will be back next week at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Check out the channel again, 8 p.m. Eastern, Wednesdays and Sundays for Wednesday Wham and Silver Sunday.
But always come back to us.
Yes.
Because we're cooler.
We're cooler. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for chatting along and hanging out, and have a good night. We'll be back next week and hope to see you then.
Yep. And make mine Silverline.
Make mine Silverline.
Hey, I'm Pat Broderick. Make mine Silverline.